Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Gopi Janabhalabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Janabhalabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Janabhalabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Janabhalabha Girivara Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamunatiravanam Shakti Jamunatiravanam Shakti Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Gopi Janabhalabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Janabhalabha Girivara Dhari Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamunatiravanam Shakti Jamunatiravanam Shakti Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi His divine grace is the Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So where did we leave off? What's this morning's verse? Starting with which verse? 59? 59?
Well, we talked about all the way up to 63, but I don't know if we read it yesterday.
Where's this morning's verse begin? 59?
63.
59. 60.
63.
63. Okay.
59?
63.
63. 18.
Okay. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam oh jayamodirayat. Yes, text 63. Out of fear of Garuda, you left Ramanaka Island and came to take shelter of this lake, but because you are now marked with my footprints, Garuda will no longer try to eat you. Text 64. Let's chant this verse together. There's a nice little purport. Shri Rishir Uvacha Mukto Bhagavata Rajan Krishnena Bhuta Karmana Tam Pujam Asamudha Nagapatnyascha Sadasham Saram. Let's try it again. Shri Rishir Uvacha Mukto Bhagavata Rajan Krishna Bhuta Karmana Tambujayam Asadmodha Nagapatnyascha Sadaram. Shukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, having been released by Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose activities are wonderful, Kaliya joined his wives in worshiping him with great joy and reverence. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments as follows on this verse, quote, the Adbhuta Karmana, the word Adbhuta Karmana, indicates the Lord's wonderful activities of saving the resident of Vrindavan from Kaliya, saving Kaliya himself from Garuda, and bestowing grace upon both the victims of violence and the committer of that violence, unquote. The word Krishnena, or by Krishna, indicates that because Kaliya's wives were great devotees of the Lord and offered him loving affection, Krishna withdrew Krishnam, both Kaliya's offense against the Lord's devotee Garuda and that against the residents of Vrindavan, who were very dear to him. Perfect verse, because I was thinking on the way over here, wow, this Kaliya is quite a guy. I mean, for starters, offending Garuda. Now, how dear is Garuda to Lord Vishnu? Super. And he offended. And offended him. There was offerings, or like his meals, and also sacrifices, and he not only stopped the sacrifice, but he took them himself. That's punishable. That's a mega offense. And then, to save his life, he went to River Jamuna because there was this curse by the sage who was doing meditation underwater that if Garuda comes again, because he was eating the fish from the Jamuna, if he comes again, he'll be finished. He'll die. So that's a safe place to go. So he went there and did his thing. And because he did his thing, he was not only disturbing the Yamuna, who is very, very dear to Krishna. We have a whole nice discussion about how the Yamuna was very dear to Krishna. But he killed residents of Vrindavan, at least the birds that flying over and the vegetation surrounding. He was a murderer of Brajvasis. I mean, this guy certainly fit to be punished. So question, this was a question that came yesterday evening. What did Kaliya do to earn that? Because generally, Krishna shows his mercy to one who does some even little service. What little service did Kaliya do? He tried to buy Krishna. That's a service. He gave Krishna some opportunity for sporting. But the mood was not service, the mood was kill him. What was the impetus for Krishna to do what Krishna did? I mean, there's many other options, like kill him. He's gone. But he didn't. He relieved him of his sinful reactions and sent him on his way. So one could say, one might say, I didn't read this from our acharyas, but one might say, because of the devotion of the wives of the Kaliya servant, however they became devoted, they were devoted. They understood the Supreme Lord for their prayers, and we can understand they understood. They had deep devotion. How can you understand without deep devotion? They had deep devotion. So one might say Krishna was reciprocating with the deep devotion of the wives, and therefore showed special mercy, one might say. Maybe our acharyas said that, and I'm just not familiar with their saying that. But otherwise, causeless mercy. No cause. Is there such a thing? Causeless mercy? Yeah, there's such a thing. No cause. Because he doesn't need a cause. There's rules or standard ways of assessing things. Like Krishna upholds the words of the Brahmanas because the Brahmanas are dear to him. The Brahmanas make an utterance, and Krishna upholds the utterance of Brahmanas because Brahmanas are dear to him. So he upholds their word. So if a Brahmana utters a curse, a genuine, qualified Brahmana utters a curse, then it carries some weight, or it's the cause. So Krishna doesn't need rules. He makes and he breaks, no problem. A rule, a general standard is he's reciprocating. Something way back when, who knows? Something way back when. Who was Kaliya before he was Kaliya? How did he get the backstory of Kaliya's life before he was Kaliya? There's probably Garga Samhita has some history about who was Kaliya in his previous life, etc. However, our Vaishnava acharyas don't put so much stock in or value in Garga Samhita says. Now, sometimes mention is made. However, sometimes there's a reservation to make any mention of what Garga Samhita says about the past life of this one, that one, the other one. Most likely there's some nice story. some sage who made an offense, and he was cursed to become a snake. And so he became a snake, something. But that's how he became a snake. What good deed did merited Kaliya to get this special mercy? So we'll go back to what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. It's a nice little summary. The Adbhuta Karmana, this is Krishna, Adbhuta Karmana, that's Krishna, his activities are very wonderful. The word Adbhuta Karmana indicates the Lord's wonderful activities of saving the resident of Vrindavan from Kaliya, saving Kaliya himself from Garuda, that is, you go back to Ramanaka Lake and he's going to leave you alone. Why? Because you'll see on your hoods the marks of my footprints, and because you have marks of my footprints on your hoods, he'll leave you alone. He won't leave you. So saving Kaliya himself from Garuda and bestowing grace upon both the victims of violence, that's the Brijvasis, and the committer of that violence, that's Kaliya. So, a big wow. How merciful. Is there a limit to he who's unlimited? Is there a limit to the mercy? In Canto 3, there's this wonderful, very celebrated verse by Uddhava when Vidura is on pilgrimage, and he, lo and behold, in a forest of Vrindavan finds Uddhava. And he's like, wow, Uddhava, what are you doing here in Vrindavan, in a forest of Vrindavan? Your place is Dwarka. Now, Vidura knew, but he didn't say that he knew, because it's not nice. He was neglecting to disclose bad news. Not like, hey, did you hear some bad news? You get some happiness by disclosing bad news. He was not wanting to do that. He's a cultured person. So he didn't say what he knew, that Krishna had departed, the residents of his associates, the leaders and Kshatriyas from Dwarka, they had departed. The whole city of Dwarka was now submerged. He didn't report any of that. Hey, Uddhava, how's Krishna? How's Balaram? How's Ugrasena? How's this one? How's that one? How's everything? It's a natural social kind of inquisitiveness. And hearing all of this, not because of sadness, because Uddhava, was not prompted to sadness, but rather he entered samadhi. Uddhava became silent, went completely inward, meditating deeply upon Krishna. And after some time, he struggled because Vidura is his elder uncle, Vidura. Out of respect to Vidura's question, he wanted to reciprocate. So then following that, he came to external consciousness, and he speaks this wonderful verse, and then a whole long series of verses about Krishna. He's just like absorbed in meditation upon Krishna. So it's a nice lesson for us on, even when you're in the midst of this and that and the other thing, how to remain Krishna conscious. By being attached to Krishna, that's how. So we practice sadhana to reach the stage of attachment to Krishna. And when the attachment to Krishna is there, your thoughts are with Krishna. So Uddhava's thoughts were with Krishna. And he spoke this verse about Krishna. It's a celebrated verse. Who is there that as merciful as Uddhava, as merciful as Krishna, that when Putana came to kill him, his reciprocation with her was he gave her a position of the eternal associate of Krishna in the spiritual world, eternal associate of Mother Yashoda. Who is there that can compare to that capacity of mercy? Well, here's a nice one. It's not a different person, but how merciful was Krishna to Kaliya? My goodness. He became a pure devotee from this bad person. So certainly, the wives of the Kaliya servant was a big factor in why Krishna did what he did and how he did what he did. But the merciful nature is superlative. It's a very nice feature of this whole pastime. There's a lot of temples. Once I'm kind of searching to see where there are different deities of Kali and Krishna dancing on the hoods of the Kali serpent, and there's quite a few beautiful deities. The old style where it's kind of bas relief, and the deity is in the front, but the big behind is because there's a lot of details. And how do you have Krishna dancing on the hoods of a serpent as in the form of a deity? There are deities like that. Particularly in Fiji, it's like a very wonderful, popular form of Krishna. But there's a reason, besides, that's where, at least the Fijians say that's where Ramanaka Lake was. It's where Kali returned. And so the celebrated pastime between Kali and Krishna is Krishna purifying him, dancing on his hoods. And many other nice things. We discussed all of this. There's the quantity of rasa, variety and volume and variety of rasa in this pastime is fantastic. So Krishna was enjoying, stimulating the love of the resident of Vrindavan in various ways. Krishna was enjoying. I had this discussion yesterday, just share this little discussion. When it comes to Krishna doing things, A or B or C, A, when Krishna does something, he derives happiness from that something when his devotee, is given bhakti. Krishna enjoys that they're given bhakti. It's the other B. The devotee enjoys seeing that Krishna is enjoying. Or they're both they're both enjoying. Krishna's enjoying, and the devotee is enjoying. A very nice example of this is that Prabhupada would like to describe it, Krishna and the gopis. The gopis would like to decorate Krishna or make Krishna happy. And when they did like that, Krishna would become very happy. And then when they saw Krishna becoming very happy, they became more happy. And when Krishna saw the gopis becoming more happy, he would become more happy in the transcendental competition. Not like the material kind, but a spiritual kind. Accelerating, crescendoing kind of ecstasy or happiness. It's reciprocal. Here's a nice teaching. This is, if you like philosophy, it's a very nice teaching. The teaching of, it's in Bhakti Sandarbha. I think it's, Anuchade 140 to 143 or something like that, where Jiva Goswami is describing Bhakti Shakti. Well, first of all, Krishna has his pleasure potency. He's Atmarama. He doesn't need anything outside of himself for happiness. He's full. And he has a pleasure potency that gives him his happiness, Ladini Shakti or Srimati Radharani. And so the Ladini Shakti expands herself under Krishna's indication to do so. She expands as Bhakti Devi. And the instruction from Radha, Ladini Shakti, to Bhakti Shakti or Bhakti Devi is, please, under Krishna's order to do so. So Krishna is the source of bhakti, as he's the source of everything. He's the source of bhakti. Please invest bhakti in various ways within the jiva. So there's some jivas that are it's concealed or it's covered, and then some jivas it's manifest. But the source is Krishna. This is Jiva Goswami's excellence because he's the source of everything. So then there's bhakti, powered by Bhakti Shakti within the jiva. And then the jiva, that's us, we may do some service, like deity worship or propagating Krishna consciousness or serving Lord Chaitanya's mission or something. And when Krishna sees that something, the devotee is pleased because Krishna is pleased. That's bhakti, love. When the object of love is pleased, the abode of love is pleased. Selfless, pure devotion. It works like that. And then that, according to Jiva Goswami's explanation, he who is Atmarama, his happiness increases. Wait a minute, do that again. Happiness that knows no limit increases. You mean to say there was a limit, right? Because how can something that's without limit increase? It's already without limit. It's already without, but that's the dynamic of the spiritual realm. That which knows no limit can increase. It's a contradiction. It's a spiritual reality that Bhakti Shakti is investing living entities bhakti, a touch of bhakti, and then Krishna sees so many living entities. Of those so many living entities, some are engaged in bhakti. His Atmarama pleasure or Sachit Ananda existence, the Ananda increases. It's nice, I like it. The power of Bhagavan to invest the capacity to increase the happiness of Bhagavan, the unlimited, already full happiness of Bhagavan, to the medium of bhakti. It's a nice teaching. So, similarly here. Krishna interacted with Kali in such a way that he was squeaky clean, completely purified of offense to his devotee Garuda, and to the Brijvasis, and etc., squeaky clean. So if that's the case, one might ask, why didn't Krishna do that with others? Because he's all powerful, and there's no principles governing him, he's all merciful. So why not do like that with others? It's not like he needs to justify his behavior with Kavya different from his behavior with others. Or his behavior with Putana compared to Shakatasura and the other demons that were killed shortly thereafter. He doesn't need to justify himself. Or we don't need to pose the justification question. By his same primordial understanding, Krishna is the source of everything. So if he's the source of everything, is there a reason why there isn't diversity in his everything? It has to be stereotyped and cookie cutter, and it's this, and if it's not this, then it's nothing. That's not a stricture or a boundary for Krishna. No such boundary. Therefore variegated. And sometimes. How wonderful is my Krishna? And so this chapter is winding up, but this little purport by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur sums up the wonderfulness of this pastime, or the mercy manifest in the pastime, particularly to Kaliya. Now coming up is, how did this all begin? How did he get to the river Jamuna in the first place? So that detail is discussed. And there, in between, there were ways in which Krishna was bringing happiness to the residents of Vrindavan. One of those happinesses was his dancing. It said specifically, Krishna wanted to show the young gopis, just check out my dancing skills. Woo, woo, woo. So he's all attractive, not just his features of body or his features of speech, and his other gestures, his sidelong glances, etc. But everything. There isn't anything that he wouldn't. So one of the things, he's a superlative dancer. Lord Shiva is also known as being a superlative dancer. In a dance of madness, he Tandavanitra, and that brings the destruction of the universe. But Krishna is not the destroyer of the universe, that's Lord Shiva's business. And he dances to bring happiness to the residents of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is such a special place. To be an associate of Krishna, to hear, this is like going back 2 chapters, that when the demigods were observing the pastime of Aghasura being killed by Krishna, and then saw the pastime of Krishna manifesting so many cowherd boys into the whole pastime. Lord Brahma, one of the prayers of Lord Brahma is, how fortunate these residents of Vrindavan, the Krita Punya Punja verse, how many pious, because they're not just, we're up here observing in the sky what they're experiencing firsthand. They're experiencing firsthand. Who can say? So there's some eternal associates of Krishna, and some that have, by dint of many pious activities, become the servants or assistants of the eternal associates of Krishna, at least, in terms of the cowherd boys, but all the pastimes, by Raga, Nuga, Sadhana, Bhakti, one can become an assistant or servant of the eternal associates of Krishna, the Ragatmikas, who have superlative love, perfect, and assist them. So there were some of those cowherd boys, and so it's not Krishna's putting on a show, he's reciprocating love, reciprocating rasa. And he finds happiness, and they find happiness in his happiness, etc. It's really a special place. Those kinds of pastimes that Krishna performs in Vrindavan are unique. Unlike any other spiritual realm. What to speak of, Vaikuntha, even Mathura and Dwarka. They're fantastic, wonderful pastimes. But the intimacy in Vrindavan is astounding. And therefore, it's not easy to understand. We'll say it the other way. People easily misunderstand. The reason that it's misunderstood is because they're coverings, and therefore they see the form of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna, and so on and so on. They see them with a mundane eye. The opposite of mundane. Very, very wonderful pastimes. Okay. Let's see if we're going to have some discussion. It's 20 after 8.
I have a question regarding Vrinda Devi, Yoga Maya, Tulsimaya, and Bhakti Devi. How is that related?
Oh, that's very complicated. I mean, I could give an answer, but you're asking, there's a book can be written on this question.
Just the relationship, hierarchy, and how connected to Srimati Radharani.
Oh, come on. Shaktis are expansions of Radharani. As Krishna has expansions, Radharani has expansions. Her expansions are in the Shakti department. So one of the things that, because I spent some time researching, but unpacking all of what you asked is very involved, super involved. But one of the questions I had is, our acharyas, the commentators, often speak of Lila Shakti. What's the relationship between Lila Shakti and Yogamaya? That's one question. And the answer by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is, Yogamaya acts through that Shakti, Lila Shakti. So in one sense they're the same. Lila Shakti is interchangeable with Yogamaya. Yogamaya is interchangeable with Lila Shakti. So, and then, because it's the agency through which it's an aspect of Yogamaya, Lila Shakti. Krishna wants Yogamaya range through Lila Shakti. Now, what's Yogamaya in relation to Radharani? I got, but it takes a while to unpack all of this. Then Tulsi Maharani and, all your various questions. I suggest you research it and let your head spin. Because there are different things said in different places, and it's not always like a straight line. It goes like this, like the movements of a snake. No, it's not a straight line. So get used to it. But our Western mind is straight line, and it's not exactly like that. So the starting point, because it's right in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Radharani has many, many, many expansions. Now, the relationship between Tulsi Maharani and Vrinda Devi, so I'm going to give you a homework assignment. You ready? There's a nice devotee who likes this specific topic very much. Vrinda Devi, Tulsi Ma. So in one sense, they're used interchangeably. Vrinda Devi, Tulsi Maharani, interchangeable. Vrindaya Tulasi Devai, Priyaya Kesavasya, interchangeable terms.
Tulsi Maharani, Bhakti Devi, Vrinda Devi, we worship.
Well, they're expansions of Radha. They're all expansions of Radha. You know, the gopis. There's a gopi named Vrinda Devi, right? She's an expansion of. She's one of the unlimited expansions of Radharani. And then she has her role, and as known as Tulsi Devi because she's the giver of bhakti. Tulsi Devi gives bhakti. Tulsi Devi can give prema bhakti. Worship Tulsi Devi. Therefore we worship Tulsi Devi. So it's an expansion of Radharani. They're all connected to Radharani. And then exactly the sequence and chronology and all of those things, not chronology, but ontology. Who's an expansion of whom in the sequence. It's all very intricate. But I'll give you a contact person and you can do some homework and then report back to us. Because he's very knowledgeable in this field. He really likes this field. And step back from all of that. What's the purpose of these different entities besides the connectivity?
Krishna Prema.
Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema. And then there's different flavors of Krishna Prema. Because let's say the worshippers of Vishnu in different sampradayas, and their objective is Vaikuntha, they also engage in worship and making offerings with Tulsi leaves. They have the same, the mood is different, and therefore the destination is different. But the principle is Krishna Bhakti, or Prema Bhakti. And then there's flavors of Prema Bhakti. Like the discussion yesterday evening about Prahlad. He's a Vaikunthavasi. And he was situated in Prema. So Vaikuntavasis are not unable to experience Prema. They experience Prema in a certain mood. Not the same as Goloka mood. Different mood. They're both perfect and perfect. And then one can say perfect, more perfect, most perfect. And so, it's deep. There's all these. They're nice, relishable topics, and for you to be inquisitive, what's the relationship, what's the connectivity between all of these different entities? It's very subtle, and it's rasa filled. But keeping it simple, it's love to nurture and provide for other entities besides themselves with Krishna Prema or Krishna Bhakti. And they're assisting one another, or the different features of that same, what does Radharani represent? Ladini Shakti. Ladini Shakti is one of three primary Satchit Ananda features of the Supreme Lord. So he has his Swarup Shakti and his Swarup Shakti, his spiritual potency. Does many things. So come see me after class and give you the contact information for this devotee that can give you an answer to the one little piece of this big question you're asking, how they related. And once you see that thread, then it can help you to see the other threads. Krishna's affairs are conducted through his internal potency. And we, keeping it simple, it's often Yogamaya. So we're not eternal associates of Krishna, yet at the same time, by dint of bhakti, we're under the care not of the external energy, but the internal energy. Because bhakti is an extension of the internal energy. The extension of Radharani, Bhakti Shakti. And and then for most of us, we're not at the stage of pure devotion, so there's a mix. And the mix is not pure devotion. There's pure devotion mixed. And in the Bhagavatam, the teachings are, even if it's mixed, pursue with faith, under proper guidance and following strictures, and, sadhana, the vitis of sadhana bhakti. And then the mixed can become unmixed by the power of bhakti. Or not. It can just, stay in place for long time, lifetimes, mixed. So it depends. So it's variable. Bhakti power is experienced in different degrees according to the coverings. And there's a whole science of attaining pure bhakti. But bhakti is pure, but there may be some taint, therefore experience is not pure. Curiosity is nice, but more important than curiosity is that Krishna should be pleased. Something else? Yes.
Is there any connection with karma and bhakti, Maharaj?
Wait a minute.
Anything connection with karma and bhakti? Karma help to increase our bhakti, or without karma also we can get the bhakti?
It depends. I'm not sure what your question is. A lot, from what I've understood from your question, a lot depends on how one views karma. Karma can mean activity. We engage in activity, but it's not the worldly karma. It's not mixed bhakti with karma. Ours is mixed with karma. So there are degrees and different definitions because of degrees in what karma is. It's right in Bhagavad Gita. There's three. There's vikarma, there's karma, and there's transcendental activity, akarma. So engage in activity where there's no reaction to that activity, that's akarma, activity without reaction. And there's activities with reaction, there's activities that are vikarma. So maybe you can rephrase your question, having said all that, so that it's clear, more clear to me what it is that you want a response to. What's your question? There are different definitions of bhakti, or different definitions of what karma is.
No. I heard many times giving lecture and that karma and bhakti is never connected and karma is not related to the bhakti. But we just say Sukhita karma, Agyata, Sukhita, like that. You told me.
Well, there's nishkama karma. Another way of describing or defining bhakti is nishkam karma. So it's activity, karma, but with no implication in the binding feature, binding one to the material experience or material realm, nishkam karma. bhakti. So there's none because it's nishkam, and that the kam means that there's bondage to that action-reaction. So now, you want to go further with this? Please, I'm interested in understanding what it is that you'd like to know.
It's okay.
You're okay. Generally speaking, what you said is true, which is there's no connection between the two. Bondage and freedom from bondage. Karma is with bondage, bhakti is without bondage. When it's pure. Yes.
We are Krishna conscious. And we're always remembering Krishna.
Well, that's speak for yourself.
We're supposed to be always.
Supposed to be, that's a different thing.
How important, so I'm going to go a step further. Well, how important is it to pray to Vishnu?
How important is it to pray to Vishnu? Well, prayer, you know, prayer is one of 9 forms of bhakti. Vandanam is one of the 9 forms. So any one of the 9 or combination, or all of them, or just even one of them, is sufficient. How important it is? It's as important as the other 8. However, without proper hearing and chanting, how can one's prayer be proper? In other words, from hearing and chanting the first 2, there's purification. Supposing I haven't sufficiently done hearing and chanting, I haven't heard from the right source, I've heard something. And I've repeated that something or vibrated that same something. But I don't, the source is not superlative. Then I'm doing prayer. So my prayer may be whatever it may be.
So in your morning prayers, I would imagine it would be a good thing to acknowledge Vishnu.
Yeah, but hearing and chanting first, please. One has to receive before one can give. You can't give what you have, what you don't have. And deep within the heart, there's Krishna Prema. But it's covered. Prabhupada, just this morning I was hearing Prabhupada using the example of rust. Iron and a magnet, they intrinsically connect. However, if the iron has rust, that magnet doesn't attract it. You have to remove the rust. So if you don't remove the rust, then you can pray wrongly or foolishly or mistakenly. Sincerely foolish. Now, then how to create that move from sincere foolish to sincere correct, not foolish. It's just the hearing. The sound vibration is ultimately, everything. Therefore, in this age of Kali, just hearing Mahamantra and then hearing scripture from the right source makes all the difference. Hearing makes all the difference. Hearing from the right source. And then repeatedly, again and again and again, hearing. Yes?
So, thank you so much, Maharaj, for explaining this so nicely. I have been thinking about relating yesterday's subject also, how everything is temporary. And there is some example of this very envious persons in our scripture.
I'd say it again. Are you speaking about what? Louder, volume up.
Yes, Maharaj. So I said I have been correlating from yesterday's lecture and today's lecture, and also been thinking about a lot of emotions going about Maharaj, Badri Maharaj.
Yeah.
full of this envious personalities, but we just read, but after hearing from elevated souls, it just makes us feel so fortunate that we have so much opportunity. Especially I'm thinking of how Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they have been in the planet and they have helped so much. So I understand there is a temporary past, things will change and things will also vanish out of the sight. But how to not go into that kind of
How to not do what?
How to prevent that complacence? Now we are thinking after somebody is passing away, I could have done some more service.
In one word, presence. For example, here's two for examples. When worshiping the deity, this is now from teachings, because I've been speaking for third canto, chapter 29. It's in, I'm embedded. So one can worship the deity with all paraphernalia, proper procedure, proper this, proper that, and offend Krishna. Not please Krishna. So being present with the deity requires, according to the Piladev's teachings, proper perception of other living entities, other features of Krishna within the hearts of others, not the deity, because the deity or Krishna expands as super soul within the heart of everyone. It's the same super soul. So not respecting the jivas who have super soul within their heart while worshiping the deity with all paraphernalia. So to be present with the deity, it's required to also have proper, not just amongst Vaishnava etiquette, amongst Vaishnavas, and then feel disregard for others who aren't, neglecting. The same idea is expressed in 11th canto Bhagavatam, the same idea, so I don't need to repeat it. So my reply to your question was presence. So when you're with the deity, and you're present with the deity, be present with the deity at the same time acknowledging presence of other living entities who are also carrying the same Supreme Lord within their heart. By a different name perhaps, Paramatma instead of Radha Madhava Hari, but within their heart. Same thing with chanting. Second example, being present with chanting. One can make a sound, and one can be distracted making the sound. So be present. And and any other feature, because there's 9 processes, we mentioned 2: hearing and chanting, and worshiping, and hers, prayer, and the other, Atma Nivedana. So be present. Being present, unpack it means there's a person. And what do I know about that person? The more I know about that person factually, like, prayer to Vishnu, he's all pervasive. Vishnu means. So if we're Vaishnavas, we're worshippers of Vishnu, he's all pervasive. And how do you be present with an all pervasive Vishnu? Respecting his presence everywhere. That's elevated. That's the Uttama stage of, according to Canto 11, that's the Uttama stage of bhakti. But to practice bhakti is Uttama, is pure. Anyabhinashita shunyam jnana karma. So it's pure. Bhakti Uttama. So the doorway is, just keep it simple, presence. When I'm doing X, I'm present with X. Just like, the conversation, just sitting here and having class and having a question. You're experiencing some emotion, naturally so, because of the Badrinath Swami is such an affable, devoted, wonderful personality, and he's gone. And is there something that any one of us, you, or any one of us could have done to express or magnify or intent, and the opportunity's gone, because he's gone. So be present. When here we are, and you've come all the way from San Diego to come to Phoenix. So, presence in one word, keeping it simple. And at some point, we're all going to be somewhere else. Who knows? But that's a certainty. When and where and everything. So Krishna fulfilled his desire. It is said by those that know him well, that was one of his desires, that he could leave his body in Vrindavan. So Krishna reciprocated. What I was told, I wasn't there, but I was told he took rest, no indication in advance, and he didn't wake up. What the cause, heart attack or who knows what, but whatever the cause, physical, biological, medical cause, Krishna accepted him. So, jubilation. In Vrindavan, his desire is fulfilled. Krishna reciprocated. He's gone. And we can't wind the clock back and say, gee, thank you for all of what you've done, etc. And volumes and volumes and volumes, a life of dedication. And he's not the only one. There's many Prabhupada disciples. That's one that you've had close association with. But there's many, many, many. In Alachua, they have this phrase these days, the decade of tears. Because many, very senior devotees are departing with years. So it's going to happen to all of us. One day your daughter isn't going to have you present. Most likely. Maybe it'll happen the other way around, who knows, but what to do? Be present. Be present, in full Krishna consciousness. I think I'm going to end. I'm looking at the clock and carrying on too much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So come, and I'm going to give you a person to contact.
Hope I can understand.